The final episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of modern television's most celebrated series finales. The show's ending wraps up Buffy's time at Sunnydale High in awe-inspiring fashion, via a climactic battle sequence, and the resolution of her love triangle with Angel and Spike. Arguably the most iconic Buffy episode of them all, Chosen, concludes the 7th season of the series by bringing all of Buffy's friends and allies together in a decisive conflict with the first evil. We see Angel attempt to help Buffy one last time, before he disappears into the night, in a callback to their first meeting back in the series premiere. What's more, many of the various girls identified as potential vampire slayers earlier in the season as possible successors to Buffy come to her aid, thanks to a spell cast by her friend Willow. This spell brings an end to the tradition of each generation having a single living vampire slayer, turning the potentials into an army of actual slayers. Most importantly of all, Buffy's circle of close friends, the Scooby Gang, fights valiantly on the front line to rid the world of evil. Not all of them make it out alive, but those who do are part of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's perfect ending, as they gaze out over what's left of Sunnydale, the town in which they've all grown up. Why Angel isn't part of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's final battle. At the beginning of the show's final episode, Buffy the Vampire Slayer's Angel vs. Spike rivalry continues unabated, as they both vie for the title character's affections. Yet, Angel departs the scene 9 minutes into the series finale, after Buffy tells him she needs him to open up a second front in her war against the first evil. Her decision not to let Angel fight alongside her in Sunnydale is an indication that she's moved on from their relationship, too. Buffy is only willing to entertain the idea of being with Angel is a hypothetical distant future, an outlook that convinces him to leave and start a second front as she's asked him to. There's also a pragmatic reason why the episode's writer and director, Joss Whedon, chose to remove Angel from the picture before Buffy's final battle sequence. The character's own spin-off series, Angel, was still in the midst of its own 5-season run when Chosen first aired. His reappearance in Buffy was considered a crossover cameo that could have distracted from the finale's main plot arc had it been more substantial. The show belongs to Buffy Summers, after all. How Buffy and the other Slayers defeat the first Ubervamps. The first evil is Buffy the Vampire Slayer's most powerful villain, making it the ideal opponent for the series finale's climactic battle sequence. Buffy resolves to defeat the first evil by bringing an army of her own down to Hellmouth, the underground supernatural portal beneath Sunnydale High School, to overpower the first army of Turok-Han Uber-vampires. Buffy's army consists of dozens of potential slayers, including members of her own Scooby Gang friendship group, who are turned into actual vampire slayers in a spell cast by the Scooby's resident witch, Willow Rosenberg, harnessing the magical power of the Slayer's Scythe. The moment the spell unlocks the potential of the Slayers, they begin to overpower the Turok-Han army. They are also aided by the Champion's Amulet, a magical artifact delivered to Buffy by Angel, which she then passes on to Spike. The amulet has the ability to channel pure sunlight, a power that allows it to wipe out hundreds of vampires in an instant. Unfortunately, its powers can have deadly consequences for whoever's wearing it, too. Which Scoobies survive the final battle? The Scooby Gang makes Buffy the Vampire Slayer what it is, as Buffy's friends keep her grounded and support her through the kind of supernatural ordeals that no teenager should ever have to experience. It was always inevitable that they'd be by her side in the show's final climactic battle, willing to stake their lives for her cause. Sadly, this last fight costs 2 of the Scoobies their lives. Spike dies channeling sunlight through the amulet in Hellmouth, which causes his body to break apart, moments after Buffy tells him she loves him. Meanwhile, Anya Jenkins is killed by a bringer demon fighting alongside the Turok-Han, above ground in Sunnydale High, while saving the life of Andrew Wells. The rest of the Scooby Gang still alive at the start of the finale episode manage to survive the battle. Willow, Andrew, Dawn Summers, Rupert Giles, Faith Lehane, and Xander Harris all make it out alive. Buffy herself has a couple of near-death experiences. First, she's stabbed in the abdomen by a Turok-Han vampire, but she manages to recover due to her special self-healing capacity as a slayer. She then hangs onto the roof of a school bus as it speeds away from a collapsing Sunnydale with the Scooby Gang inside. Somehow, she survives. Inside the bus, school principal Robin Wood appears to have died from his battle wounds, before Faith's touch awakens him. Various other newly empowered potential slayers also survive the battle. What happens to Sunnydale at the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Buffy the Vampire Slayer's perfect opening scene is arguably topped by its legendary final shots of the Scooby Gang overlooking the crater where Sunnydale once stood. The town gets pulled into the giant sinkhole created by the collapse of Hellmouth underneath it, which is brought about by the power of the Champion Amulet when Spike is using it. The destruction of the town serves as a jaw-dropping set piece to end the series with, placing a punctuation mark decisively at the conclusion of its story. There isn't really a way back for Buffy's main setting from this point on, although, as Rupert Giles observes, there is another Hellmouth to destroy in Cleveland. The real meaning of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's ending. For much of the show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans are faced with the harsh reality that Buffy is alone in her role as the chosen one, the only vampire slayer of her generation. The series finale turns this scenario on its head, allowing Buffy to be just one of many slayers enacting the ultimate conquest of the first evil. The underlying meaning of this transformative storyline is about the power of female solidarity. It's a central conceit of the series that only women and girls can be vampire slayers. Therefore, only female unity on a mass scale can defeat the source of all evil in the story. In this way, the central plot of Buffy's finale is a powerful allegory for a real-world feminist struggle against patriarchal oppression and the evils it entails. It's notable that Buffy can only unlock the potential of her fellow slayers by breaking with a tradition created by a group of men thousands of years in the past, and enforced ever since for no good reason. What the Scooby Gang does next. In the last line of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dawn asks her sister, "What are we gonna do now?" Buffy doesn't answer, simply smiling with relief that her ordeal is finally over. What happens next is left open to our imaginations, in a sense. However, the Buffy fandom only had to wait 4 years for the story to continue in comic book form. In the Buffy the Vampire Slayer comics, the Scooby Gang has left Sunnydale far behind, and Buffy now heads a command center in Scotland, directing thousands of slayers worldwide. Buffy's final words in the last comic of the TV canon are more definitive than the show's open-ended last line, as she tells her friends, "The trouble with changing the world is, worth it."